Gundam.tk presents HGUC Juaggu. Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2 R's, 2 B's from GundamReviews.net, and everything that's old is new again, and I'm talking about things that are so old that they practically did not exist. But thanks to the wonder that is the OVA of Gundam Unicorn, everything that was old and sort of forgotten about has made an appearance or reappearance, and the HGUC Juaggu here is no exception. This is the Unicorn version, so let's get on with the unbox. This is a 2012 release, out after episode 4. There's the price there on the right, 1,700 yen. You can see that this is the Unicorn version, and it's number 139 in the high-grade Universal Century, and I'm still loving it that they're labeling the boxes with which series it's from. Now, when I was first getting into Gundam, I was very confused by mobile suits like this, which is part of the mobile suits variation line, I suppose. Although, if you go back to the original stuff, and thanks to this 2010 The Gunpla Bible, you can actually go take a look. I remember watching First Gundam, and I thought I knew all the mobile suits, but when you go take a look at the models, you've got all the Federation suits there, which are all quite famous. Even more famous, and apparently even better selling, are the Zeon suits. So as they went on through the Gelgoog, the Gan, the Akai, the Gog, and the Zok for the underwater suits, in 1/144th non-grade scale, after the Gelgoog came out in May of 1982, all of a sudden there probably were some kids who would watch Gundam and were pretty confused by these kits that showed up, because I'm talking about July 1982, that it's the Agu guy, and then after that you were going to have in August, the one that we're talking about here, Juaggu, with its very interesting snout there, elephant nose, to go along with those 3 guns on big ones on either side. Then you've got the Agu, and then you've got the Zogok, which is a combination of the Zagok. And somebody would have said, none of those were in the anime, what are they doing as part of this model line? And I wonder if Bandai, somebody I'm sure can correct me, but either these were supposed to be in the last few episodes that got cancelled, or this was just the start of, hey, let's make more models so we can get more money, even whether they were animated or not. And moving on to the scale that I'm more familiar with, and anyway, a bigger fan is the 1/100th scale, and you can see that the Gelgoog came out there. But then these are the 1/60th kits down there, so they don't quite count. But after you've got the Akai and the Gog, you're going to have in October, you're going to have the Ag, and this one came out in September, the Agugai and the Zogok, which means the Juaggu was obviously not, they didn't intend for it to come out in 1/100th scale, which means the 1/144th is the only one we've seen up to then. And in terms of other things, the MSV line, including the 1/144th stuff, this didn't start till 1983. So this was still part of the 1982, but Bandai already had the idea of taking kits that, even though they weren't animated, because the real type models were coming out before these 4 came out in 1/144th, starting with the real type Gundam in March of 82. So with Unicorn Episode 4, seemingly the first time that this guy's ever been animated, this is a 30-year wait for some people to actually see this thing in action, and it actually had a pretty good debut, and when you combine that with its unique MS shape, and the fact that it's just got an elephant trunk and some pretty cool looking weapons there, I was pretty keen to get this. They do have another version which is going to come in Agai colors, and it's going to be sort of brown, and it's going to come with a regular hand and a sword as opposed to these 3 ones. So that's the difference between the Unicorn one, but that's an online exclusive, so you got to be in Japan or have access to that. You can buy it somewhere online. But anyway, I always wondered, maybe somebody can correct me, if some of these old suits, the 4 that weren't quite animated but were part of the original line, did they show up in Double Zeta when they were off in an MS museum or in somebody's garden on another moon, I think, late in the series? Somebody please let me know with a comment down below. It would be greatly appreciated. So talk about unique, and when I say unique, many other people would just say ugly, but that was the style in the early 80s, I suppose. In terms of mecha designs, you've just got these old school sort of things that are going to come into your dryer there for the legs. It does have very familiar looking feet though. It's going to have some red panels. I wonder if those are going to be in plastic and whether his trunk is going to move or not. The mono eye is up there on sort of the Isaac head, which is looking sort of cool. Very interesting. Can't wait to see how it's going to work out. So there's the back. You can see some backpack there and some additional thrusters, and it looks like it's got color apps all over, although remember this is painted up by a pro. It's going to go into a profile of it. You can see it here fighting in episode 4 before it did get owned by the Federation. And here you can see some stats, including its low height there, 17.4 meters. Going to be pretty heavy, and yes, it's looking very cool in these unicorn colors. I'd have to say I like this one a lot more than the MSV personally. Now, if you've ever built the 80s kits, you know that they were ugly and practically bricks and they hardly moved at all. So it's amazing to see something this ugly, but able to move this well, or so it seems. The legs are going to move pretty well there. You're going to be getting some marking seals, so you can get this guy done up water style there. You can see that he's actually going to have some mechanical details, so that's sort of looking like the Zok, which is great to see in HGUC that they're going to go with this. It's got some water parts there. If you wanted to get an action base too, you could use the blue water one there, and he'd be able to thrust all over the place as he jetted through the water. But it's poses like this that are going to be a lot of fun, and that's thanks to the fact that his nose is going to be able to move, even though it's not shown there. The mono eye is going to move, which is very important for Zeon fans, but the weapons there, you can see that they're going to be able to move because the fingers are going to move down at the knuckles, and you're going to be able to move the nozzles or whatever around there for the rocket launchers, which is looking pretty good. The waist is going to turn around, the shoulders are going to move, and you're going to be able to move the head, it says there. And if you see it here, completely unpainted, you can see that the colors they're not quite as rich as they are when they're painted up properly. But it's cool to see it facing off with some Federation grunts, and again, I'm just happy to see this thing finally animated. But animated or not, plastic is plastic, so when you crack it open, you're going to be getting a manual, a big plate of white here to go along with the seals there, including the big head. You've got some it's not quite as Sangoku gold there, that's going to make up the majority of the body. You've got the familiar inner frame color there for Zeon. You're going to have some more seals in there. I wonder if there's anything else in the bag. There's the C plate, and you're also going to be having some brown looking parts there, along with a small PC7. No stunning multicolor A plate here, but you are going to be getting a solid brown, which we've seen on a lot of Zeon mobile suits, including these circles, which are familiar for underwater ones, to go along with these body parts. The B plate is almost the largest in the set, and it's going to be the same color as the C plate here, but you can see all the parts that you're going to have for the limbs, including some cool looking ones here with some nice little details, and these are all going to snap together so you can have them extendo style, again like the Yak guy, at least from the 08th MS team. And when you take a look at the rocket launchers, these things are really, really big. A lot bigger than I expected from just looking at the side of the box, and they are going to have some very nice details in there if you can make them out through the shadows. The C plate is going to have a few of the parts for the waist, and more importantly, you're going to have these large parts there to put on his pancake-shaped head. Speaking of which, these are going to be the largest parts that you're going to be getting in the set. So you've got the top part here with the eye parts cut in there, 3 little pegs there to attach everything on, and you are going to have some lining possibilities there on the underside. I wonder if you're going to be able to move the mono eye. Gotta check out the manual for that. But yes, these parts are looking very, very old school in terms of the legs and for the neck parts there. And again, you can just see that the rocket launchers, these fingers are going to be quite large, it looks like, when they're all put together. And I wonder if these are going to be omitted. It looks like they easily could be for the MSV, at least one of them. These ones probably wouldn't be included in those plates. The E plate is going to have the familiar Zeon inner frame color there, and you can see that there's going to be a big part there to go in the head. And what makes up the inner frame, it looks like here, and you can see the backpack parts are actually going to have some pretty good details in there, lining all over the place if you wanted to add some silver paint or something. Pros could really make this guy look pretty good, and it's always great to see these on the bottom of submersible MSs, especially Zeonic ones. PC132 here, and you're going to be getting some extra PC7s, and something I didn't notice until I took them out of the bag is that you're going to be getting this wire, and if you take a look in the manual, this is going to be used to use the elephant trunk and keep it all in place, so this, I suppose, is what's going to make it posable. Now, you may have noticed no red there, so the most easily noticeable thing here on the regular seals is that you're going to be having those fans. You can see that they're going to be cut, so hopefully they're going to work, because they are going to be going on the inside of a crater type part there. You are going to have some gray parts as well, and an all-important mono eye there. No clear parts for that to go on top, so you're not going to have the option of just painting up a clear part, although this is a lot larger than a regular one for a Zeon. And in this bag, you're going to be getting your marking seals here, which are all looking pretty good with the numbers and the Zeon crest all over it, including the names in white, red, and gray. But something that's even more of a plus is that you're actually going to be getting the Juaggu mono eye shield, which is looking pretty good. It's thick plastic, at least a couple millimeters I'd say there, and it's pretty cool that it's got these little tick marks across it, which is going to let you know which position to put the mono eye at, I suppose. The cover of the manual is looking good, and I just really love this old school design, as I've said over and over again. You can see it on the watertight base there, and you can see some scenes from the anime. Here you've got the trunk up, and it looks like it's going to have some inner frame, though. I wonder if you're going to have to paint that up in gray to make it proper. The fact that you're getting a frame is showing that HGUCs are advancing. More scenes from the anime in a pretty cool pose there. And of course, they're going to be showing off some old school water ones there to go along with the unicorns. We can see some of the other suits that have made an appearance. They started in games and they show up in Unicorn and become a lot more official in a lot of people's eyes. The cool poses there. All the parts are going to be used, no X's except on a couple of the polycaps. You can see the wire going into the nostrils there of the elephant trunk, and then when you put the parts on, including that shield for the eyes, it's all going to look pretty good, including putting together these stretchy arms. They're always a lot of fun. It doesn't look like they're going to stretch, but they're going to move all over the place. And the legs are just going to be a 2 simple part thing attached together, not even polycaps in there. Before on the back, you can see where to put on the marking seals. They're going to show that off, which is great to see that in color. A good rear view there, the mono eye is showing it moving there, including some details. Maybe that's how you're going to move the mono eye around. Looks like 3 points of articulation there for the trunk, and the shoulders are going to move to go along with those rocket launchers. There's the details on the bottom of the feet, and yes, that's a cool pose, but it's that pose right there. If you've seen the At Guy in all sorts of different promotional material and silly manga, you know that making old school Zeon suits do silly things is just a hit with the fans, and yes, that's why I bought this kit. So even though its history is confusing, the unboxing is not. For 1700, it's going to be a little bit more than the average high grade, especially considering Gundam Age and stuff like that. But you're getting 5 solid plates, even though you're not getting a lot of color variations. You are getting the 4, which is good enough. 2 sets of polycaps, the little wire there is a surprise there for the trunk, and you're going to be getting some seals, which are going to add that needed red, and very nice decals there, the marking seals, and the fact that you're getting the little bonus of the shield cover there for the eyes. I'm really impressed with this kit, and I can't wait to put it together, and I'm really glad that the people who made Unicorn took the time to take these old school things and sort of bring them more into the forefront of mainstream continuity, in the fact that, yes, instead of just being a model on a shelf that would have confused people, it's actually being animated, and animated well. Anyway, everybody, why don't you let me know what you thought of it in the anime and of the model? Has anybody built the old school 1/144th? Would love to hear from you with a comment down below. But stay tuned to see all the parts and it all put together. As always, thanks for watching, guys and gals. See you next time. Look, I know I consider myself to be a little bit of an ugly duckling, but early 80s MSVs, yeah, they take the cake.